Our guest this week on Personally Speaking is Ryan Carmody, a graduate of Regis High School in Manhattan, now a student at the University of Notre Dame, talking about how he can be both a young, contemporary, wonderful man, but also a person of deep and abiding and growing faith. Stay with us. Hello and welcome to Personally Speaking. I'm your host, Msgr Jim Lisante, and Notre Dame University student Ryan Carmody joins me now. Ryan is from Farmingdale, New York, and attended Regis High School, a Jesuit high school in New York City. He received a full scholarship to Notre Dame University, and he's about to begin his sophomore year there, majoring in graphic design. He's here with us today to talk about his life, his family, and how Notre Dame University has strengthened his Catholic faith. Joining me now, I'm so pleased to welcome to Personally Speaking, Ryan Carmody. We're here on Personally Speaking with Msgr Jim Lisante. Ryan Carmody is my guest today. There's lots of stuff I want to talk about with Ryan, and we'll talk about that. Ryan, first of all, family of origin, for people watching and listening to this. Mom and dad, where are they from? What's their background? What's their impact on you?
Absolutely. So my dad, born and raised in Whitestone, Queens,
Okay.
and he grew up there with about 11 siblings. So if you ever meet him, he's gonna crack some jokes, classic.
And what did he do? What did he do in his life?
So he ran track at St. John's growing up, and then he was in the NYPD for a number of years, couple decades, and then now he works for the ACS, which is Administration for Child Services. So yeah, he's pushing it along.
What kind of man is he?
Hard worker for sure. He's always just been a worker, and he's the one who got me into sports as well and got my love for being athletic and working out. He's 67 now, and he still goes on runs every day, still goes to the gym every day. So I think I got my athleticism in part from him and my love for sports, for sure.
Okay, tell us about mom.
Sure. So mom is an immigrant from Haiti. She moved here when she was about 17 years of age.
Okay.
And it was hard for her coming here because, there's a language barrier. She didn't really know anyone. She had a couple family members, thankfully, who took her in. But yeah, she pretty much had to go to school, learn English, make a living for herself. And she worked a lot of odd jobs in the beginning, but she had this dream of becoming a federal agent. And then down the line, she accomplished that. And then she worked for the federal government for 20 years, to which she just retired a couple of years ago.
Now, has she been back to Haiti?
She is not. She is not. Unfortunately, Haiti, as you guys know, watching this, Haiti is not in the best of shape. And although we do have a couple family members over there right now, most of our families in the United States, simply because it's in such bad shape.
Okay, now what did she pass? That passed the athletics interest in you. What did mom give you?
She gave me the brains. Dad, I'm sorry. She's been the one that's been very on top of me for school growing up. Like, definitely been more of a tiger mom growing up, so to say, making sure my grades are good. She actually got me into music, had me playing classical piano since 4 or 5 years old, which I started to hate in the beginning, or in the end, because it was more something that she forced me to stick into, but I'm definitely really grateful that she did.
Ryan Carmody has these great parents, but he's also kind of an icon in their family. I went recently to their home, and on every wall, there are multiple pictures of Ryan, and that raises the issue of, I'm not one and only child, but you are. What's the experience of being raised as an only child? Are there a lot of demands in being the child to achieve? What does it mean for you to be raised as an only child?
Yeah, so there's a couple dynamics to it that I think have pros and cons. I mean, for one, when I speak to people who have siblings, some of some of just like the frustration and maybe pressure gets directed to other siblings. You know,
Mhm.
it's not just on one person, but if you're an only child and if you're watching this and you're an only child, you know that it's kind of all focused in on
On
you.
you, right, right.
Um, Whether that's, you know, pressure in school or just uh, if someone's not in a good mood, they're just like, you're the only person there. So there's that aspect in terms of just being the focus for everything, which I haven't had too much trouble with
Mhm.
because I've been pretty independent my whole life. I've been doing well in school, and my parents really hadn't had to remind me doing stuff like that. And because I'm an only child, I think I've had to find ways to make myself entertained. Whether that was growing up, I used to build a lot of Lego sets, playing
Okay.
video games, messing around with music. I think that's where my multidimensionality comes from
Okay.
because I had to constantly be finding new things to keep myself
But when you're
entertained.
the only one, like my parents can go to Joan, who became a lawyer, Patty, who's done work in the church, and me, and they can count on their satisfaction coming in different directions. Does it put too much pressure on you to have to achieve as the only child?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think I've always dealt well with pressure.
Okay.
I don't think it's affected me much. I mean, from as far back as I can remember when I was performing piano recitals and stuff like that, like I would get a little nervous for sure, but I think once I started playing or, you know, at a sports tournament, once the game started, all the nerves would go away. And I don't think I've ever really had an issue achieving just because of how much work I put in on the back end, you know?
Ryan's mom, Sheila, talked to us recently at the priest of the rectory about the struggle to have a baby and miscarriage before that and difficulties physically. Does that add pressure to you to know I'm the one? And let me ask him, why, if God did not give her a child before, what's his plan for you? Like, why did he let you happen?
Well, I know I've thought of that a lot. I wrote an essay on it back in high school, just how blessed I feel to be here and
Mhm.
against the odds that my birth onto this planet was.
Yeah.
You know, you heard all the aspects of it last night, but um, I think it has the opposite effect for me. I think it has called me to want to do great things
Mhm.
and I've realized through my birth story and through the struggle that, you know, even my mom went through to get to the place she is today. I think not only do I want to make them proud, but whenever I feel myself slacking off, it's just like, for one, there's so many people who are less fortunate than me that are living on this planet. So I need to take advantage of my situation. And for two, like I was this close to not being here.
Yeah.
So I can't take any of my time for granted and I have to work hard. And, you know, although that there's a big light shining in my face, no pun intended. There's a light right there, but for being this only child who made it through
Mhm.
uh, quite a treacherous birth story,
Yeah.
I think it does motivate me as opposed to put a lot of pressure on me.
Ryan Carmody's father is a man named Dennis, as you mentioned, with NYPD for many years. And he told us a story last night that was comical, and that he took his son back to the baby doctor when it was born. And the doctor, looking at him, said, I think you're probably leaving your son too often in the sun. And because of Ryan's coloration. And Dennis was clever enough to say to the doctor, it might have more to do with the fact that his mother is Haitian.
I had never heard that story. That was a first for me.
It's a great story. And I mention it because now, in my time, back in high school, it would have been a monumental thing to have a person of color, a mixed person like you are. What's it like for you? Does it matter? Does it matter anymore? Has it made life easier or tougher for you to be part of a blend?
Mm. I think it's definitely part of my identity.
Okay.
Um, Growing up, I did go to a pretty diverse elementary and middle school,
Hmm.
so fitting in or looking different wasn't really an issue
Hmm.
because it was just so diverse, and I'm very grateful that in my earliest years I didn't really go through any uh, you know, racism or bullying because of that. And then I'd say more so when I did experience places where there weren't many people who looked like me, such as in high school and then now in college. I mean, Notre Dame is a predominantly white institution, so so it's definitely been more of a struggle to make sure I'm sticking to my identity and not trying to be someone I'm not.
Hmm.
But I think that's another one of my blessings, the fact that I come from two very different families. And in doing so, I had to adapt as a young kid. I had to realize, well, my dad's side of the family is just very different culturally from my mom's side.
Right.
So there was a little bit of a battle in that and an adaptation I had to work through as a younger kid. But I think it resulted in me staying very true to myself
Hmm.
because I'm this combination of so many different things to where I'm very comfortable just being myself in whatever environment I'm in now.
But any overt
Yeah.
experiences of rejection, re racism, bigotry, ever directly at you?
No, I don't think so. I think I've been very blessed in the institutions that I went to
Mhm.
school in, and just overall I think I've just been fine. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
don't know if it's because I'm mixed and I'm not, fully Haitian, but no, I haven't. I've always really been accepted wherever I'm at. And like I said, I think it's just coming from this ability for me to adapt to any environment while still maintaining a sense of self. So I'm not acting like someone I'm not, but I can, meld my personality a little bit to just adapt to a group of people.
Ryan Carmody is our guest. And as we mentioned in the introduction, Ryan left Long Island to travel into New York City as a high school student to Regis High School, which is a private boys' high school run by the Jesuit community, the Society of Jesus. But I mentioned that to you because we're over 40 miles out of New York City. I'm just wondering, at a kid of 13 or 14, getting into public transportation and going into Manhattan every day, were you intimidated by that? Were your parents frightened for you? Did you know anything about the city when you had to every day get up and go to Manhattan? But a lot of people listening to a show like this would say, "Oh, Manhattan, Sin City,
Yeah.
gotta stay out of there."
Yeah.
This is kid going in, traveling every day to the city. Was that a problem?
I don't, I think I feel like I definitely wasted a lot of time, unfortunately, commuting, but it didn't feel so out of this world when I was actually going to high school. It was kind of presented as something that was normal for a kid who went to private school in the city. And I'd say about I'd say more than almost 50% of the kids who went to Regis commuted and had just as far as commutes as I did. So it didn't seem out of the ordinary until going to college and realizing that no one, literally no one who goes to college, who goes to my school, had any sort of commute like that
Right.
or experience commuting by themselves as a 15-year-old. So in the beginning, it did feel a little daunting having to
Okay.
navigate the system yourselves, but I always had friends I was commuting with, which made it a little less scary, and it just became routine. And just like, yeah, anyone else commuting, it just
So now it doesn't bother you at all.
no.
So when Ryan was going to the city, he went to a school, as I mentioned, that was run by Jesuits. Now, a myth about Jesuits, not true, but unfortunately they carry the burden, is that so many people go off to Jesuit colleges and parents will say to me or grandparents, I send them to a Jesuit institution, they're going to lose their faith, which is nonsense.
Interesting.
Interesting. Now you went to a Jesuit high school. So first I want to know, did you lose your faith with the Jesuits? And even more importantly, what does it mean to have a Jesuit education? What is special about them?
Well, I think it's interesting because faith was such a big part of my high school experience.
Mm-hmm.
We took theology classes every year. We had retreats multiple years throughout high school. So it wasn't something that wasn't talked about.
Right.
It definitely talked about, and it wasn't made a big part of our daily lives, but we did like an Ignatian examen every single day at the end of the day. So
Wow.
there were smaller aspects of it that we participated in, but I don't want to speak for everyone, but I didn't really feel like I got very deep into my faith during high school. I think that came in college, which we can get into in a little bit, um, but I think it's one of those things when you're maturing, maybe as a younger person, there's a lot of other things to worry about, and maybe faith is on the back burner of your mind. But in terms of the education, because that is something that the Jesuits do take pride in, high school was far more difficult than college, than Notre Dame, which is something in of itself because Notre Dame is a very academically rigorous school, and yet I feel like it's a breeze simply because my high school experience was so difficult.
That's something.
Yeah.
And the way they teach you, Ryan. We had a Broadway actor on a few years ago, and he said, I said, do you get like indoctrinated in Catholicism or the Jesuit approach? And he said, I love the Jesuits because they didn't teach us what to think, but how to think. Did you find that your experience?
Absolutely. That's definitely a big like motto in terms of the learning at Regis, because I think a lot of schools now fail to teach people how to think and really have those difficult conversations that are necessary in the classroom, but that are often neglected in other schools. So whether it was in math or in English, we were always forced to think outside of the box, and we were always challenged within every class we took. So that's something that I'm super grateful for now, because when challenges come my way, which is the main thing, when you're challenged, instead of running away from that, I make sure to stand through it and push through any challenges, which I think in part I learned from being challenged so much in high school.
Wow.
With all my
By the
classes,
Jesuits and stuff. So as we mentioned again in the introduction, Ryan Carmody, also having left Regis High School, wonderful experience, now goes to the University of Notre Dame in beautiful Indiana. So first I got to ask you, as a kid from a fairly cosmopolitan background, what's it like to go to school in Indiana?
It's definitely a paradigm shift. I mean, I was in New York City, Manhattan, and then now I'm in South Bend, Indiana, which is quite literally in the middle of nowhere. So it was definitely something getting used to. And not only is the environment different in terms of the living situation and virtually having nothing around, the Midwesterners are quite different people, totally different people. So at first it was weird because I had to find my place. I definitely slowed down a lot in terms of the way I was thinking, in terms of the pace at which I wanted to complete things. I definitely gained some patience, which is a good thing, because if you lived in New York City, it's just, it's constant moving, constant. You get everything instantly when you want it. There's a lot of quick gratification in terms of things you're doing, but being in South Bend, Indiana, I think it was intentional that Notre Dame was built there, because it teaches you to really slow down and connect with yourself and the others around you and not jump into things.
Well, so that related to that, because so many people listen to and watch a show like this who are from the Midwest.
Yeah.
So when you said they're different, how are they different?
I think for one, they're very nice.
Yeah, they really are.
You know, a lot of these kids come from really good families.
Yeah.
But there's a conservative nature that comes from being from the Midwest, to where I feel like people aren't very expressive of themselves. It takes a little bit to get to know someone and to get someone to open up to you, as opposed to in New York City, people are just very shameless about who they are, I feel like,
Right.
So that was definitely something, because a lot of the conversations at first seemed very superficial and surface level, as opposed to in New York, you can have a pretty deep, like I was having conversations with strangers while taking the train just randomly, that definitely were past surface level. But it's hard to kind of break into that.
Yes.
Talking to a Midwesterner, especially someone of like, younger age who hasn't been out in the world.
Like, what does this kid know? But he knows because of where he's been. For those who don't know, places like Georgetown University, Notre Dame, to be sure, Boston College are considered to be preeminent Catholic universities. What's the fuss about Notre Dame that makes it something that many, many people want to go to? Thousands apply every year. Happily, you got in.
Yeah.
And but what's so special about Notre Dame?
Luck of the Fighting Irish, baby. I mean, we're the Fighting
And you
Irish.
are comedy. I have to.
Yeah, yeah, I do have a bit of Irish background in me, so it's fitting. But um, I mean, like Regis, there's this great balance of faith and academics
Mhm.
and athletics, right? We're prided on our football and all of our other sports, which have amazing facilities and amazing teams. And I think it's just a great balance of who you want to be as a person, because I think it's amazing how almost every student at Notre Dame played a varsity sport, was on some kind of academic team or robotic team, or is
Wow.
passionate about something academically. Everyone is so multifaceted and they have all these dimensions to them as a person. And no one's a boring person at Notre Dame.
Wow.
And everyone has something to them. So, and then the addition to that is the faith. I think that's in part why the alumni community is so tight knit, because it's such a trusting community.
Yeah.
It truly is such a trusting community. I think the community is really what drags people over to Notre Dame. There's a lot of schools that are great academically. You can go to Harvard or Princeton to get a good academic uh, degree, but
Faith dimension.
the faith dimension, the
Yeah.
community is what drives people to Notre Dame, and why there's such a strong alumni network, and why people want to send their kids there, because it's just truly an amazing place to connecting with others.
Ryan Carmody is doing something at Notre Dame University that many parents tell me they're troubled by because when their kids were home with them, living in their local community, they were going to church with them, and then they say, "Oh, but my child is in college and doesn't go." Ryan Carmody actually goes to Catholic Mass on campus because it seems to be a very inviting climate for that. In fact, I was surprised. Ryan told me recently that while there's a beautiful chapel at University of Notre Dame, he enjoys more the Mass that's actually where he lives. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so every Sunday, and our dorm does it at 9 p.m., we have our dorm masses. And they're pretty much filled up every time with the other guys in the dorm. And for those of you who don't know, the dorms are all single sex. So because of that, I think the brotherhood and sisterhood that's formed through the dorm community is even stronger. So I think it makes people who initially aren't excited to go to mass back home, I'm ready. I'm ready to go to dorm mass and celebrate the Eucharist with all my friends.
Yeah.
Because and in our dorm after mass, we have announcements. Everyone is laughing, having a good time, and it's something that. And I think this is what mass is really supposed to be. It's something that you enjoy going to and you're excited to go to every week. And for that reason, I absolutely cherish dorm masses, because I've never experienced something where every single person in the room, when we're offering peace to each other, we go around an entire circle,
Wow.
shake every single person's hand, and everyone by name. And it's truly a representation of a community of brothers.
Now, you also have been involved in ministries in the church as a lector, as a teacher of catechism. Do you have opportunities in college to continue to do in addition to attending?
Absolutely. So for the dorm masters I was just talking about, I'm definitely going to lecture this year. That's something that's rotated. A lot of the guys lecture throughout the dorm, and then I also continued doing catechism classes. I started my spring semester this year, so I didn't immediately start, or last semester, sorry. But this year I'm starting right from the get-go. I'm going to be teaching either third or fourth graders
Wow.
throughout the whole year. And after doing it here at Our Lady of Lourdes for a year or two, I realized spending time with the kids and teaching them faith, really, it strengthens your own faith, because you're obviously teaching scripture, but it also reminds you of what it's like to be a kid again.
Yeah.
Which is something we often forget, especially as a college student with all our work and everything. It's easy to get caught up in really matters that are trivial. It doesn't ultimately matter what grade you're going to get on that test when you look at it from the long run, and it would matter just having fun and enjoying yourself, which teaching these kids reminds you of. Just to sit back, enjoy the moment, and crack some jokes and have a good
No
time.
doubt about it.
Yeah.
You're also gold in that for a young man to say, I'm a believer and I'd like to teach you about the faith in which I believe. That kid is never going to forget you. They may not remember particular lesson plans, but they remember you as a witness to their faith. I'm going to raise another issue that's always sensitive for parents and students. When I went to college a long time ago, people in my graduating class had degrees in English literature. That's me. In theology, in the classics, in history, in sociology. I would say that 9 out of 10 kids in my parish who are college age, if I say, what's your major, will tell me finance, business, finance. And I'm just wondering, like, is that all there is now? I mean, is there such pressure to make tons of money?
Absolutely.
You got to have a business.
You could only imagine at Notre Dame that issue, I feel like, is tenfold. I wrote my final paper on in one of my English classes was on that issue about how kids at Notre Dame, I feel like, study and take on majors simply because either their parents want them to do it or because they think it's going to make them a lot of money. And although they're like partially passionate about it, like, for example, I my go-to is like investment banking. Kids default to investment banking because, yeah, it's going to make them some money, but that lifestyle is not sustainable for long-term happiness. Like, it's not, it's absolutely not. So I think that is definitely an issue, especially at a school like Notre Dame, and I'm sure a lot of the other really academic institutions, that's 100% an issue.
Ryan Carmody has been our guest. He's, as I mentioned, a student at the University of Notre Dame in Indiana. Before that, Regis High School in Manhattan, a Jesuit institution. But I wanted him on because, first of all, he lowered the age of our guest by about 40 to 60 years. But aside from that, he's actually a young man who thinks very, very clearly, is highly ambitious, is creative, and get this, he believes in God, believes in Jesus Christ, attends Mass, is a minister at Mass, and is a normal, wonderful, down-to-earth guy. I think sometimes people like me, and maybe many of you parents and grandparents, need to see that it's possible to be both a believer, someone who practices faith, normal, good, intelligent, and life-giving. And Ryan Carmody is all that. I thank him for being with us and personally speaking. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you so much for having me.
The best. Yeah, I'll take one of those. Thank you. Thanks for being with us on Personally Speaking. If you need to reach me, you can do that at personallyspeakingpodcast@gmail.com. You've probably been listening to this program on the Catholic channel on Sirius XM. You can also watch it on YouTube, searching under Personally Speaking with Msgr Jim Lisante. We're also on CatholicTV.org. I'm privileged to serve as host and executive producer of Personally Speaking. Our producer is Lisa Jandovitz. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll be with you again next time on Personally Speaking.